Good day to everyone. Let me continue to you our report, the 1971 Synod, Justice in the World. There are three things that I am going to discuss with you. First is that education to justice. Second one is that justice within the church. And then the third one is the theological aspects. And then last one is the summary and the conclusion. Educating to justice. It is an education for justice wherein involves a renewal of the heart and its purpose. And that purpose is to awaken consciences leading to the beginning of a transformation of the world. However, education demands a renewal of what we call our heart, a renewal based on the recognition of what we call sin in its individual and social manifestations. It will also inculcate a truly and entirely human way of life in justice, love, and simplicity. Likewise, the likewise it will awaken a critical sense which will lead us to reflect on the society in which we live and on its values. It will make people ready to renounce these values when they cease to promote justice for all people. The principal aim of this education for justice consists in an attempt to awaken the consciences to a knowledge of the conflict situation. Education makes people decidedly more human. Education is deservedly called a continuing education, and then education for justice is imparted first in the family. We are well aware that not only church institutions but also other schools, trade unions, and political parties are collaborating in this. That's why education is part of our existence. Education makes us aware of the present situation. The second one, justice within the church. There are three subtitles on this part. First is that to practice justice within the church. Second is that the right of the people within the church to be respected. And then the third one is that the image of the church in the world. To practice justice within the church. While the church is bound to give witness to justice, she recognizes that anyone who values to speak to people about justice must first be just in their eyes. Therefore, we must undertake an examination of the modes of acting and of the possessions and lifestyle found within the church herself. We ask the question, are we practicing justice within our local churches? Within the church, rights must be preserved. No one should be deprived of his ordinary rights because he is associated with the church in one way or another. Those who serve the church by their labor, including priests and religious, should receive a sufficient livelihood and enjoy that social security which is customary in their region. The second one is that the right of the people within the church to be respected, such as the right of the people within the church, or the right of what we call economic wages, juridical rights, and then as well as the right to share responsibility and participation in decision making. The church recognizes everyone's right to suitable freedom of expression and thought. This includes the right of everyone to be heard in a spirit of dialogue which preserves a legitimate diversity within the church. The point here is that lay people should be given fair wages and a system for promotion. We reiterate the recommendations that lay people should exercise more important function with regard to church property and should share in its administration. We also urge that women should have their own share of responsibility and participation in the community life of society and likewise of the church. The last one, the third one is that the image of the church in the world. This, however, leads to the bishop to look the lifestyle of the church and of its ministers. They must be judged not simply in terms of efficiency. They must rather be examined to see whether they hinder the church in its proclamation and witness of the gospel of the poor. Therefore, in regard to the temporal possessions, whatever to be there to their use, it must never happen that the evangelical witness which the church is required to give becomes ambiguous or indefinite. The preservation of certain possessions of privilege must constantly be submitted to the test of this principle. Although in general it is difficult to draw a line between what is needed for right use and what is demanded by prophetic witness, we must certainly keep firmly to this principle. Our faith demands of us a certain springness in us, and the church is obliged to live and administer to its own goods in such a way that the gospel is proclaimed to the poor. If instead the church appears to be among the rich and the powerful of this world, its credibility is what we call diminished. The third one is that the theological aspects. The theological aspect that links poverty with what we call justice. First and foremost, God is the liberator of the oppressed, and Christ proclaims the intervention of God's justice on behalf of the needy. Remember, in the Old Testament, God reveals himself to us as the liberator of the oppressed and the defender of the poor, demanding from the people faith in him and justice towards one's neighbor. It is only in the observance of the duties of justice that God is truly recognized as liberator of the oppressed. The point is that Christ united in an indivisible way the relationship of God and the relationship of people to each other. Christ lived his life in the world as a total giving of himself to God for the salvation and liberation of people. In his preaching, he proclaimed the fatherhood of God toward all people and the intervention of God's justice on behalf of the needy and the oppressed. Remember in Luke 6 verses 21 to 22, and it said, I would like to read it to you. Happy are you who are hungry, now you will be filled. Happy are you who weep, now you will laugh. Happy are you when men hate you and reject you, and insult you and say that you are evil because of the Son of Man. Be glad when that happens and dance for joy, because a great reward is kept for you in heaven. For their ancestors did the very same thing to the prophets. In this way, he identified himself with his least ones, as he stated, as you did it to one of the list of those who are member of my family, you did it to me. The summary and the conclusion. The document Justice in the World, actually issued by the 1971 Synod of the Bishops, made a major contribution to the development of the social teaching of the Church. It spoke a strongly against structural injustice and against the misdevelopment that is doing so much damage for the poor and to the environment. On the other hand, the document significantly says that a church that presumes to speak to the world about justice must itself practice justice in its own life and structures. It called for justice, greater participation in the life of the church for lay people. Once again, good day to everyone and thank you. If you have some questions, clarifications, just free to text us or ask us with Manong Rod and I. Once again, thank you and God bless to everyone.